Hello there, and welcome to the Good Old Football Podcast. I am your host, Matt Edwards. Appreciate you joining me as we get ready for the holiday season here in this great country that is the United States of America. So I have a guest on today we'll get to momentarily. His name is Danny Stratton. He lives in New York City. He is from Grove City, Ohio, pretty much the same place, just in different parts of the country. It was an honor to have him on. We talk about a lot of stuff. We get into the Browns quite a bit. He is an Eagles fan. Because of a certain Ohio State Buckeye, he is an Eagles fan. So we'll talk about a lot of things with him. He's a funny guy. He's a stand-up comedian in and around New York City. So he says some things that are comical. He also maybe puts out a little rumor out there about the Patriots that he's heard. But I want to be clear that I am no longer in the journalism business. And whatever he says is satire. He's a comedian. That's what he does. It's probably not true, but it's kind of interesting, and I'll let you listen and decide for yourself. That's coming up when he and I talk in the show. Be sure to listen to that after I tell you what I have to tell you right here. And the first thing, look, if you've been listening to the podcast all season, and I hope you have, and I really appreciate everyone that has, our numbers getting a little bigger the last couple of weeks. I'm excited for that. But if you've been listening, I've got to admit to everyone, I am a changed man. I am ready for the Cincinnati Bengals to draft a quarterback, and that quarterback is Athens, Ohio's own Joe Burrow. Now, I've been back and forth on whether or not I think the Bengals should move on from Andy Dalton, but I think Joe Burrow is a guy you can look at, and you know that even as a college student, you're looking at a grown man.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
He's actually only 23, but that's older than most quarterbacks are when they come out of college. Look, he's an adult already. He's not going to be flying out to Vegas or California on the weekends like Akili Smith did when the Bengals took him in 1999, or we saw Johnny Manziel on bye week hanging out on the Big Swan. I've just kind of fallen for Joe Burrow. When you read smart people online, they like the things he does, and they point out the little things he does that usually NFL coaches are waiting to get to. And I'm not talking about, I'm reading your buddy Trevor, who pounds 14 Bud Lights during the game and all of a sudden is an NFL scout. I'm talking about real people. Daniel Jeremiah is a guy I really like. Just points out things you often don't see from college quarterbacks, things that let you know Joe Burrow is a mature kid, ready to go. He's a grown-up on and off the field. And look, he's got that Southeastern Ohio work ethic. A lot of people don't have that. Joe Burrow and I both grew up in the 740 area code, so maybe I'm a little biased. But like myself, he left the area and probably realized, most of the country is lazy. Most of them have parents who still tuck them into bed when they were 14. They're not like us. Most of these people never had chores. I remember my first quarter of college at Ohio University before I transferred to The Ohio State University. There was this kid in my dorm who called his mom one day, and I heard him on the phone say to his mom, he said, "Hey, Mom, these animal crackers are stale. What should I do with them?" He was 19 years old, didn't know what to do. These are the kind of people that are throughout most of the country. In Southeastern Ohio, and pretty much all of Ohio, we've got it together a little better, all right? We got to go out there and shovel snow when we're 4 years old. And here's this kid eating animal crackers at college, also uncertain of what to do with those when they go stale, and thus called his mother for advice. These are the kind of people that the country is full of. Joe Burrow, not one of them. I am not one of them. I hope you are not one of them. But unfortunately, a lot of people just aren't cut out, aren't groomed their entire life to lead an NFL franchise. You look at the quarterbacks who are out there and doing it at a high level, oftentimes they come from, families who are raise them to be leaders. You look at Russell Wilson, the way he talks, the way he acts, the way he kind of commands the field. It can kind of get dicey with certain guys. Joe Burrow is an adult already. Another good reason for the Bengals to take him, Andy Dalton's going to need a new contract after 2020. You're going to get Joe Burrow on a rookie deal. Joe Burrow probably is good, if not better, than Andy Dalton is right now, and undoubtedly has a higher ceiling. And I'll say this about Andy, and if you listen, you know I love Andy Dalton. I'm a defender of Andy Dalton, and I hope he goes wherever, Chicago maybe, I don't know. Wherever he goes, he has a great career. But in the big moment, He's rarely came through. He struggled in the playoffs. Everyone knows that. He struggled in primetime. Everyone knows that. And then on Sunday, the big bad Patriots, fresh videotapes in hand, came into Cincinnati. And Andy Dalton suddenly looks like he's putting on a football uniform for the first time in that game. He stunk. The fact of the matter is, Andy doesn't handle the big moment well. And maybe because of what he faced early in his career, kind of psychologically it's a thing with him. I don't know, but whatever it is, when push comes to shove, whether it's the Patriots or the Steelers, boy, if he played, and look, I know the opponent has something to do with it, but you see a confidence in him. You saw it against the Jets. You've seen it against the Browns over the years. He just doesn't have against the Steelers. He doesn't have it when teams like the Patriots come to town. So you get Burrow on the rookie deal, and here's the important thing, Brown family, Mike Brown and company that owns the Bengals, go get some offensive line help. You're going to have to overpay. You got to deal with that. But nothing develops a young quarterback like a good run game. Ask Ben Roethlisberger. Ask Phillip Rivers. Bill Belichick said Joe Mixon might be the best running back in the league. He is certainly on the short list, and his offensive line stinks. They should be working at IHOP next season. Take Joe Burrow, put a good offensive line in front of him, spend some money for the first time in your lives. Success will follow. And by the way, maybe some people rolling their eyes at the idea Andy Dalton's going to get paid. He's going to get overpaid. No matter which team signs him, you're going to say, it's probably more than I would have gave for Andy Dalton. Matt Flynn, Josh McCown, Brock Osweiler, all got overpaid by teams that were desperate for a quarterback. Andy Dalton will too. So if the Bengals lose this Sunday in Miami, they lock up that number 1 overall pick. I'm obviously against tanking, but at this point in the season, whatever happens, happens. The Bengals with the Giants win kind of got a little bit of a bump there, and Joe Burrow has the talent to be a great quarterback in this league, but so have a lot of guys who have went into bad situations, end up getting mauled with a franchise who didn't put the right pieces around them, and those quarterbacks never recover. If the Bengals screw up Joe Burrow, that might be it for me with football. I might start watching cricket. I'll have to wake up at 6 a.m. on Tuesdays and watch it live from South Africa, maybe. You'll be listening to the Good Old Cricket Podcast. That's how we'll do it. I don't know. All the way. And by the way, look, and I think, you just got to know at this point, it's Joe Burrow, singular. Not Burrows, you hillbilly. Burrow, singular. Got to work on a reading. Burrow. No S on the end. So that's my, I'm on the board. I'm on the Joe Burrow train, whatever you want to call it. Okay, enough about the Bengals. Speaking of bad teams, we're going to talk about the Browns today. I will with young Danny Stratton. Plus, we'll get into Urban Frank Meyer playing Daniel Snyder like a fiddle. We'll dive into the NFC East a little bit. We'll talk about the reseeding. I can't believe there's people who think that should be a thing. More on that. Stab me in the neck every time you talk about reseeding in the NFL. And if you watch the Bengals and Patriots on Sunday, I'll tell you what, Andy Dalton, not the only quarterback that left something to be desired. Tom Brady just, when he had to throw it more than 10 yards downfield, it didn't look comfortable for him. So we'll talk about that and so much more. Maybe Tom Brady needs to let a little air out of those balls, like the good old days. So it's me and Danny Stratton. It's a good time. Keep giving the feedback. Got a lot last week with Ryan O'Toole. A lot of you liked him. Some of you kind of, especially the Steelers fans, not a fan, but I can't blame you. That's what we're here for. It's a good old football podcast. Enjoy. Let me know what you think.
He goes to class. He's respectful to the media. He's respectful to the public. And he's a good kid.
Danny Stratton, welcome to the Good Old Football Podcast. How do you feel today?
Oh, I feel excellent, Matt.
You feel excellent? That's good. All right, So Danny is an Ohio native like myself. So I think, like me, you probably feel bad for the loyal Cleveland Browns fans. But here's the thing. I feel bad for the people who, suffered through the 1-31.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who watched every game every year, no matter what.
Here's my hot take. All
okay.
Right? If you're a real loyal Browns fan, then you're a Ravens fan right now.
Ooh, that's going to upset some folks.
If you're a real fan, you celebrated that 99 Super Bowl. You're like, go Art.
You might get death threats.
Yeah.
The guy who took a leak on Art's grave is coming for you right now.
I remember being a kid and somebody that was like a neighbor of ours, they They had a ton of Browns memorabilia, and this was when they left town, and nobody ever thought they were coming back. They put all their memorabilia in a shed and lit the whole shed on fire.
What?
Yeah. That's how much they were like, screw this team.
Was there like a ceremony or just kind of?
I think it was
I
probably...
would pass out flyers and invitations for that.
I believe it was a drunk act.
Oh, okay.
in a rage.
And then people do forget, like, it was maybe 3 months later that it was official the Browns were coming back. So that guy was probably not happy with that decision. Here's my thing. A lot of people jumped on that Browns bandwagon on the offseason, during the offseason.
Oh, I know.
I am so happy that they are now facing disappointment and sadness. Again, the loyal ones I feel bad for.
There's always a team every single year where they get a ton of hype in the offseason, and I feel like the players buy into it too much and then don't put in the work in training camp and, like, preseason. Like last year, I think it was the Jaguars were like that. Everybody was going, oh, they almost beat the Patriots the year before. They probably should have won that game. Well, this year, this is their year. They're going to be Super Bowl champs. And then they went like 3-13. Like, there's always a team like that that just is so overhyped and look great on paper, and then they just aren't a good team.
Yeah, and it helps too in this situation. Baker Mayfield talks a lot.
Sure.
OBJ is OBJ.
Yeah.
And then being from Ohio, there's so many casual fair-weather fans, which not a lot of Browns fans in recent memory.
Yeah.
And now that they're all... I hate for my really good friends to go through this, but my God, am I enjoying.
The other thing is the Browns fan mentality is that of no other fan base.
It's feast or famine.
Well, I also feel like they get a sick pleasure out of the second half of games when things just all go to shit.
Yeah?
I think so. At least in my experience with my friends who are very diehard Browns fans, it's sort of, when I'm with them and watching a game, it's sort of like they throw their hands up when everything goes bad, but you can tell they're a little happy and relieved that they're not going to win.
It's kind of like hitting a punching bag.
Yeah, it's like, I deserve this.
It's like everyone's got that family member who's always angry about something.
Yeah.
They need that.
Yeah, and
there are worse things to be angry about.
That's the only emotion they can feel anymore.
So, speaking of emotions, we were talking about this a minute ago. We've been sitting here chatting for a while.
Yes.
You didn't know I was a reporter in my past life, which we need to talk more often, apparently. But anyways, allegedly, according to Mike Silver of NFL Network, Jarvis Landry was shouting at the Arizona sideline, "Come get me on Sunday," as in trade form. That's according to Mike Silver. Again, Hugh Jackson's good buddy. I've been, in my reporting days, I was in a locker room, I think, twice with Mike Silver. Mm-hmm. Guy's got an ego. He is, of all the reporters I was around who I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
He's number one.
Oh, yeah?
He's actually maybe the only one I can really think of. Pretty much everyone else was really nice and down to earth. He definitely had an air about him where you could tell. But anyways, I'm going off the rails. I get into that because on Twitter people are ripping him. Because he's also the one who said Baker Mayfield refused to shake Richard Sherman's hand.
And then they had the video of it.
Then they had the video of it happening. So kind of hard to trust Mike Silver at this point. But Jarvis Landry, that's kind of the same place I'm at. Like, if I'm Jarvis, I do want out. You've got this short window. Yeah. You realize you've been here, 2 years now, 2 full seasons. Yeah. Leave.
Yeah. He's a very good receiver.
He's very good. I would rather I'd rather have him than OBJ, and I've talked about this on here before, but if you look at the teams who have won Super Bowls, very rarely do they have that star top 5 receiver. Yeah. They've usually got a guy in that 10-15 area like Jarvis Landry. Yeah, who was the Eagles' #1 guy when they won it? Was it Alshon?
Alshon was our #1 guy.
And he's, like a probably bottom of the top 10 type guy.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he was probably top 15, top 20.
Browns, another note on them. Only team this decade without a winning record. So respect to the people who have been through it and not jumped ship.
Wait a second. So the whole decade they didn't have a winning record?
2010 to 2009. That's the last one they had would have been 2007 when
they
went 10-6.
That's over over the course of a whole season, not like one. Like if they were 1-0, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, they had a winning record at certain times.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
I was gonna say that'd be terrible.
2013. They led the AFC North in October for a minute.
I think the last playoff game they had, Derek Anderson was their quarterback. Is that right?
Well, no, he didn't even. It would have been Kelly Holcomb, I want to say, because Derek Anderson led them to 10-6.
Yes.
But they missed the playoffs.
Ooh.
One of those unfortunate situations with old Romeo Cornell in there. Doing a thing here and there.
Yeah.
As we continue about reports, here's a guy I do trust, Jay Glazer. He doubled down on the OBJ once out of Cleveland. Did you watch any of the Browns game yesterday? Probably not, or did you?
I watched a little.
So the effort you see from OBJ on plays where he is not getting the ball is comically bad.
Sure.
He had 2 missed blocks yesterday he had the one big hit on Jordan Hicks where he laid Jordan Hicks out. But right before that, he missed the block he was supposed to make and then celebrates like they just clinched the berth in the playoffs because he laid out a linebacker on a 7-yard screen.
A good linebacker, a former Eagle.
Yeah, he's a Cincinnati guy. Yeah, former Eagle, went to
former
Texas.
Former Longhorn,
Yeah. And, but I mean, it's like, dude, I've seen you miss 2 blocks in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got 2 touchdowns on the year. I've got to think that they move on from him this year. It's been... to me...
But to me, if you trade him after this year, you're losing the value you gave up.
Yeah, but it might be addition by subtraction.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, the offense definitely looked better last year without him.
True. But I think the majority of the problems of the offense is because it's the sophomore slump of a quarterback. You now have more tape on him.
Yep.
And defenses now know what Baker can and cannot do, so they are able to insert those game plans and especially division rivals have so much more time to game plan for a quarterback. They're spending the whole offseason looking at the other 3 quarterbacks in that division, figuring out what they want to do against them. So it's one of those things where it's these teams are more focused on you and more prepared. So when they become more prepared, I feel like Baker will take this offseason, and then next year he'll make another leap. And I think...
Yeah, I do think you'll look back one day and this will be one of his down years. We'll figure out... it's one of those situations, too, where I always say a quarterback is only as good, for the most part,
as the line in front of
as
their
the
car.
line in front of him and as the organization around him.
Yes.
You have your exceptions like Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, who kind of overcome what else is there. Let's move on past the Browns after a hot 8 minutes of Browns talk. A former Brown we just saw, Josh Gordon, suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
Let the guy do drugs.
Let him do it.
I mean, who's getting hurt here?
Yeah.
They said performance-enhancing drugs in addition to regular drugs.
Yeah.
Maybe those two balance each other out.
Probably. I mean, you had to know when the Patriots let this guy go that, supposedly they had a guy following him around trying to keep him clean.
Oh, yeah.
And if an organization like that gives up on you and you're as talented as he is,
and they
it's
need wide receiver help.
They knew this guy's about to probably get suspended. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Poor guy. But I didn't see it. You said his last stat line was an interception. I didn't realize he threw a pick.
He threw a pick in the game on Sunday. So I don't know if that was the actual last play that he had, but that was near the end, and that can't be good.
Sign of things to come. They call that foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you have a rare quality about you where you are an Eagles fan.
Correct.
But you don't have a criminal record.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
What's going on? You need to change that.
Yeah, that's true. I do have I have an anchor tattoo on one arm and a tattoo of a heart that says "Mom" on the other arm.
That's nice.
So that gets me a lot of street cred in Philly.
I do love it. How did you become an Eagles fan? Because aren't you from Ohio?
I am. I'm from the Columbus area.
Well, I know you're from Grove City, but I guess I meant grew up in Ohio too.
Yeah, okay. I did. So I started rooting for football at a time where the Browns weren't a franchise. And at the time, the Philadelphia Eagles had a Ohio State quarterback, Bobby Hoyne.
Oh, Bob H, they called him.
Yeah, and I just really liked the way the uniforms looked, and I wasn't particularly invested in the Bengals, so I rooted for the Eagles.
There you go. All right, that's simple enough. That happens with a lot of people who they just go with the college quarterback. Yeah. And that's a good move.
Yeah.
And I'll say that's one thing. So I've got the Super Bowl 52 ball out here for you from when I got to go to the factory. Yeah, it was a good time. But I feel like I had Ryan O'Toole on last week, who's a Patriots fan, and I feel like they'll never know, Patriots fans, Steelers fans,
Yeah.
they'll never know the joy like you do,
Yeah.
and like I hope to someday of getting to the top of that mountain.
Can I tell you where I was for that Super Bowl?
You can tell me where you were for that Super Bowl.
So I really wanted to go, but I had free tickets to a cruise line that was already booked, and I spent it with my roommate on a cruise ship, and I was in the middle of the ocean for the actual Super Bowl, and we watched it on a cruise ship in a movie theater with, I'd say, about 200 people that had to be close to 80.
Why were there so many old people there?
It's a cruise. I was like one of maybe 5 people under the age of 50.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was pretty weird.
Was it quiet like a normal movie theater?
It was like the other thing was it was an illegal stream. It was like a British stream of the Super Bowl. So I saw none of the commercials. It was all commercials for like rugby and soccer. And nobody in the theater really cared too much which direction it went, except for me.
I'm surprised there weren't, because, I mean, you got the Patriots, who are a big brand, obviously. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles are still a top 10 brand. Maybe there was a better party you just didn't know about.
Maybe.
You went to the senior citizen version.
That's true. Wherever the crew was was probably
they've got to have, like, big events like that available to see.
Yeah. But I went crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was wearing a throwback Reggie White jersey.
Oh, nice.
And I took a picture in front of a waterfall in Honduras the next day.
Well, that's a way to do it.
That's how I celebrated.
People do not realize, I feel like, I've always said that, like, a lot of times, even this year, like, I'll still have my Bengals gear on.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, it's like, I am going to appreciate this so much more.
Yeah.
Than people who just come around for the good times. Well,
yeah.
You got to take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
Or the bad with the good, I guess it would be.
Yeah. Either way.
Whatever it is. So,
I'll take the bad or the good, is what I say.
The bad or take what you can get, and life moves on. So the winner of the NFC East this year is going to be 9-7, most likely. Cause
more than likely.
Yes.
I mean, they could also drop the other games, each of those teams.
But probably not. So the Cowboys are going to Philadelphia this Sunday. Winner of that game. So whoever wins that game will be a game up, and then they have the Giants and Redskins in Week 17.
Yeah, more than likely this game will determine the division.
Yes, most likely. Are you so no matter who wins, they're going to host a team?
I think either team will win their first-round game.
Yeah, why is that? The Cowboys yesterday looked great, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
They destroyed the Rams. The Rams looked great against Seattle.
Yeah.
I think that when the last month of the season, I think, is a better projection of how you're going to do in the playoffs than the first 3 months.
Oh, definitely.
Because what ends up happening is one team gets on a roll, and they get so much momentum behind everybody doubting them and them actually coming out and having a chance and getting a home game in the playoffs. That's so much momentum. Like, the two teams that have actually made the playoffs where they had 500 or worse record was the Cardinals and the Seahawks, and they both won.
I remember the Seahawks when they were 7-9. When did the Cardinals go?
The Cardinals went to the Super Bowl that year, I believe. That was the year that they played Pittsburgh.
They couldn't have been 7-9 though.
They
right?
might have been 8-8.
Wow.
But they were a team that everybody was doubting, and then they went on this crazy run as well.
Yeah, I say that. I kind of felt that way this year with the college football playoff. Really, I always feel like whoever gets in at that 4 spot is going to be so thankful that they got in.
They got
nothing
to lose.
Can't take this for granted, and that's why I was okay with Ohio State playing Clemson, even though we know how dangerous Clemson can be.
The year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the coaching staff kind of did that as well, where everybody was loose. They were underdogs in every single game that year.
They had the dog masks.
They had the dog masks. They were calling trick plays. They were calling the Philly special on a 4th down. I mean, there were some pretty crazy calls by Doug Peterson that year.
Oh, Doug P. He How are you on him right now? How are you in general with the Eagles right now? Because
they're fine.
Much like a lot of fan bases, people got hot on them for a minute, and they're still good, but it's hard to kind of recapture that magic.
Well, here's my thing in general with football. I think you get rid of a coach way too early.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Chip Kelly is a good coach.
I agree. I totally agree.
I think they gave up too early on him. I'm very happy with.
Didn't he go 8-8 in his only season?
He did 2 years.
Okay.
One year he made the playoffs. I think he was 10-6, and that was the year Nick Foles threw like 33 touchdowns and 2 picks or something crazy like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then the next year they went, I think 8-8 or 7-9, and then they got rid of him.
Right. I don't get why everyone was so down on him. Obviously, he has sucked at UCLA.
Sure.
But I mean, in the NFL, if you make the playoffs 50% of the time,
It's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. I'm looking this up. I think the Cardinals that year were 9-7. So still a game above 500.
Ooh.
Oh, you just about spilled your water there.
I did a spit take on your couch.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's what Dickies pants, baby. Those are durable, ready to roll. Here's what drove me crazy was the idea.
Tell me, Matt. Tell me what's
I'm going to
driving
tell
you
you what drove me. A lot of things drive me crazy. So the idea of people reseeding the playoffs.
Silly.
So silly.
Yeah.
And it happens once every 10 years.
Yeah.
Where, and there for a minute, it felt like maybe an 8-8 team was going to get in. Most likely it's going to be a 9-7 team. But I hate, that's one thing I hate about the NBA. There's no division rivalries.
Yeah.
In the NFL, winning your division means so much.
It really does.
And in other sports, really just the NBA, the NHL a little, but they kind of have their new format where it matters. You're going to get one of those top seeds.
Mm-hmm.
But the reseeding,
I mean,
I couldn't believe how many people jumped on that bandwagon of saying that reseeding should be a thing.
It's 6 of your 16 games you're playing those teams.
Right.
Therefore, you're saying, like for instance, the Eagles this year, they have won 3 games against teams with winning records.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Cowboys have only won 1 game this past weekend against the Rams. So you're saying that that those 4 teams, none of them should then make the playoffs, basically, or you should not get a home game. It's crazy.
Right. They would still make the playoffs. So
Yeah.
the proposal, and I don't really even know that it got as far as a proposal, was that the 4 division winners, so the teams that make it wouldn't change. The 4 division winners and then the 2 teams with the best record would get in. However, seeding 1 through 6 would have been based on record, which means that, say, this year, the Vikings and the Seahawks, if they finish second in the NFC West, could get home games. I just don't like that idea. It drives me. It's one of those things that happens, and it's kind of like the pass interference rule from last year. It's like, one thing happened. It happens once every now and again. Let's reroute everything.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction.
Knee-jerk reaction is an accurate way to describe it. So you're kind of like borderline Ohio State fan, right? Like you root for them, but you're not a psycho like a lot of people.
I did not care at all about it when I lived there, but now that I'm here, I kind of do, because when you're in it and like 98% of the people like Ohio State,
it's not as cool.
And it's very much like it. I associated it mostly with annoying bros.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that there. But now that I'm far away from it, anytime I see somebody with like a Michigan hat on, I scowl at them for no goddamn reason.
Spit in their face.
Yeah, I do. And I get arrested once a week for that.
Well, you got to work on that. I totally get what you mean. And look, every college football fan base has that, and it's kind of like that mob mentality when people get together for sporting events. Let's get wild. I'm anti-watching games at bars, especially ones I care about. Now, if it's like, say tonight's Monday night game, Colts Saints, I don't have a dog in the fight, so if someone was like, hey, let's grab a beer and watch this game, I'd be glad to do it. Hint, hint. But I'm not like, I would never want to watch a Bengals game or an Ohio State game, especially an important one at a bar.
Now, do you watch it by yourself?
I prefer to.
Really?
I prefer to watch it by myself.
Is it because you get emotional?
No, I mean, it depends. Like, I'll watch, like, if I'm watching a Bengals game with my dad, that's great. I don't want to, if I'm watching a game, I don't want someone, trying to talk to me about,
that is annoying.
The cost of tea in China.
If you're with non-knowledgeable fans, it's very annoying.
I hate Super Bowl parties.
However, Super Bowl parties are annoying, but I will say if there's a really good play or a really exciting moment or a game comes down to the last play, and that moment where the whole bar shuts up for a second, everybody cheers at once because they can't believe.
That's great.
That's such a fun moment.
Yes.
That makes it worth it, I think.
Stop being so positive, all right?
I will.
I want.
I will. I will positively stop being positive.
No, you're 100% right. Now, one thing I do like is being, let's say that like if I'm in Pittsburgh and the Steelers are playing on a Sunday or Monday night, I like going out with other people there and kind of watching them do their thing. Yeah. And while I'm obviously silently rooting against the Steelers, it's fun to
Have you ever
observe.
been to a road Bengals game?
Yeah, my dad and I went in 2016 to Lambeau Field to see the Bengals.
And you wore Bengals
stuff?
stuff?
Yeah, yep.
And how was that experience?
They were pretty friendly, folks in Wisconsin. Green Bay's awesome. It's like an even smaller town than I thought it'd be.
There's more seats in the stadium than people in the city, I believe.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, it's literally an NFL campus in the middle of a neighborhood. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, they were cool to me. A little bit. The Bengals got up 28-7 in that game and ended up losing. But yeah, the other thing is, it's when I'm pretty good at diffusing situations.
Sure.
I've had a lot of awkward encounters working as a reporter, so you kind of get good at countering back with soothing people a little bit. Yeah. So I remember like one guy said to me a couple rows back, I had a black Boomer Esiason jersey on. He's like, it was, by the way, the hottest game in Lambeau Field history. It was like almost 80 degrees that day. Yeah. And he's like, gotta be pretty hot in that black jersey down there, huh? And I'm like, is that your quip? But I just said to him, I'm like, dude, I'm always uncomfortable watching this team. And then he was like, ha ha ha, with a big hearty Wisconsin laugh. Yeah. And that was the end of it. And
you're like,
but yeah, everyone was cool.
You're like, wait for it. Dalton's about to collapse. All right, you don't have to talk shit. I got this.
I think he played fine that day. It was they got conservative, man, and that was always my knock on Marvin Lewis. Is he was stuck in the 90s. They got up 28-7, and they just quit doing what they were doing that was successful. We're going to run the ball. Yep. And I don't know if people realize this, but Aaron Rodgers is not a bad quarterback. Huh. He can make things happen. So that was Aaron Rodgers' first overtime win. I'll
tell you who didn't realize that, and that's Olivia Munn.
Wow. Is he still dating Danica now?
I have no idea.
Maybe we should just start doing a sports dating show.
I believe all of those are just publicity stunts, and he's not actually with any of those people.
They could be. Yeah. What are you getting at here, Danny Stratton?
I think he's more interested in aliens and pyramids than he is in football.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. Anytime I've ever heard that man talk in an interview, he sounds bored as shit about football whenever he talks about it.
Yeah, I think he just hates the media, though.
But then he will go on. If you ask him about a book or something that he's reading, he'll go on and on about it.
Interesting.
I think he's one of the smartest people in football, and I feel like football is too easy for him.
I could see that. Yeah. I feel like there's been some guys like that. Yeah. Andrew Luck being one of them.
Andrew Luck is one of those.
He's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Herbs. So what I was getting at there is I was going to see if you were going to be upset if Urban was coaching the Cowboys next year, but if you're kind of indifferent on him anyways, you probably don't care.
Yeah, I don't really care, to be honest.
You saw what happened with him yesterday in Washington.
Yeah, he was in the owner's box, and he was hanging out with Alex Smith, and he was just pointing at his knee I'm gonna fucking chop block you here in a second. And it was cool because he was in a stadium with two of his guys.
Yeah,
Alex Smith was his guy, and Dwayne Haskins was his guy.
And apparently Terry McLaurin now has come out and said he was my guest yesterday.
Oh, that's nice.
To me, it was just
to spend his whole rookie salary to get that guy box seats.
Yeah, seriously. No, I'm sure Dan Snyder was trying to pitch him, and it's Dan Snyder has no idea. Dude, you're in the friend zone. Mm-hmm. Urban wants nothing to do with you. He is making sure Jerry Jones sees this. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just trying to get more money out of Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
We all know that.
And there were some reports today that Urban was at the White House dinner after the Army-Navy game, and then was just there. So he's like, I'm going to go see my guys. And that I think Ian Rappaport said he's comfortable in his television job, but of course he's going to say that.
Yeah, he's trying to drive the price up on himself.
Yeah, I don't know that Urban wants to come back and coach.
Yeah.
I think he wanted.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the only pro job he would come back for would be the Cowboys. But I do think, and by the way, I am a big Urban defender. I think people who think Urban Meyer is a jerk. Yeah. I've been to.
I'm a big believer he's going back to Utah.
Dude, how funny would that be?
Yeah. he thinks he makes everybody go, oh, he's going right? Nope, I'm going back left.
That would be.
I'm getting
Kyle
the band back
Whittingham
together.
Just has to like go live in a tent outside of campus now.
Alex Smith has another year of eligibility.
Well, Alex Smith does only have one knee at the time, though. I hope he comes back. That's another thing.
That'd be a good story.
Yeah, he's a likable dude too, and he's one of those guys you talk about. Quarterbacks who go into bad situations. He was on those garbage 49ers teams.
Yeah.
And then he goes and is a stud with the Chiefs for a while.
Yeah.
And is and kind of same.
I think his second to last year, or maybe his last year starting for the 49ers. One of the best playoff games I've ever seen in my whole lifetime. It's 49ers, New Orleans. And he's the starter. And they must have scored, I would say, 5 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of that game.
He could play, man.
Total. Like, the two teams going back and forward. And he was running all over that day. Like, he must have had, like, 80 yards rushing on top of, like, probably 3 or 4 passing touchdowns. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he...
Dude, you got a mind like an elephant, though.
He was incredible that day. I remember that game like it was yesterday.
You are sharp as a tack, Danny Stratton.
Divisional round.
Where were you at for that game? Were you also on a cruise ship with the elderly?
I think I was still in Ohio.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's long enough ago that I was still in Columbus.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Urban. I kind of want him to coach in the NFL just to see what it's like, just to see if he can do it.
I don't know. He's such a weird coach.
Yeah.
That it's like... I'm sure he could do it if he had enough like weapons on a team. Like the Cowboys,
I mean, it's a pretty good roster.
The Cowboys would be a good team for him to give it a shot. But I could also see him being a Steve Spurrier or somebody like that who just or Chip Kelly, where he just goes there and maybe has a little success, but then realizes how much work it really is and how much pressure it is. Because I mean, in his entire career, the guy's probably lost maybe 2 games in a season, maybe once or twice ever. Like, to imagine that guy losing like 7 times and having a bad heart. Like, it's probably not going to go too well.
Right. We'll see what happens with Urban. I know I talk about him a lot on here. I'll say this, too. Did you watch any of the Bengals-Patriots on Sunday?
I did not.
Tom Brady does not look like Tom Brady. 15 of 29, 2 touchdowns, 128 yards. Both touchdowns were short passes. One was 7 yards. The other he dumped off a screen.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of Peyton Manning at the end, where he just didn't have like the zip on the ball like he used to. I mean, he missed a lot of open guys in the first half.
Sure.
I mean, a lot. And, you know, there's all the talk about his trainer sold his house. Brady sold his NYC place.
Yeah.
I think he might be done after this year.
Maybe.
I don't think he wants to limp away.
Yeah.
And I think there's got to be a part of him that, you know, he's not an idiot.
Yeah. I think this is also the time of the year where, like, they start to figure it out. And this is about the time of the year where they develop a run game, the defense gets better, and then because of that, he starts to look better. They start having they start to have a better field position because of the defense. And then also, the other thing that's different for this year is that, like, all of those receivers, nobody's been there the whole year. Not a single one of them. Like,
it's true.
Like, Edelman is probably the only one, but Sanu, that's a new guy. The first-round pick, what's his name?
Keneal
Harry. He wasn't there for the first half of the year. He was on IR. So, I mean, it's all these guys are still, like, new, and he's figuring out, like, what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He just didn't look the same to me. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this while we're on the Patriots, because I'm not sure, as much as I try, I don't know if
answer your question about the Patriots, all right? Okay, Belichick's son, right?
AK, have you ever seen him and Stephen Avery in the same room together?
I have not. Oh, my God.
Huh?
Oh, this is all coming together. Netflix?
It's all coming together.
I got a second season for you.
Yeah, dude. He is... All right, go on about...
Want to hear some gossip that I've heard?
Where'd you hear this gossip?
Cannot reveal my source.
Okay.
But Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl that he did not play, where he only played special teams.
Yeah.
The word on the street is that Malcolm Butler slept with Belichick's son's girlfriend the night before the Super Bowl.
No way.
And somebody walked in on it and told Belichick, so his way of punishing him was not playing him.
Is this a real thing you've heard?
That's a real thing I've heard.
Are you going to tell me off mic afterwards where you heard it at?
I heard it from a comedian, and a comedian with a trusted source.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You just blew my mind with
I hope it gets out there.
Well, we'll see. All right, but where are you at? I need an unbiased opinion here on Spygate 2.
Oh, it's so stupid. All of it's stupid. Spygate 1 stupid. The Deflategate's stupid.
But did you see the video that came out yesterday?
Yeah.
But do you think it is fine? There shouldn't be anything?
Who cares?
The other team cares. You're looking at their signals.
I blame the Browns. The Browns are helping their former coach.
Yeah. I'm sure that they could do anything to
It's
help
also
Belichick.
stupid because the thing is no other team gets accused of cheating. The only reason they get accused of it is because they win so much. If they didn't win so much, they wouldn't be accused of it.
Here's the thing. I was kind of on the fence about it until two things. One, Michael Strahan pointed out this is a new coach that Belichick's never faced. He's collecting data on him, which is a fair point as to why he wouldn't do this to other teams. And then two, if you listen to the guy in the video, if your immediate reaction to someone calling you out is like, oh, no, yeah, sure, I'll delete this right away. You sound so guilty, dude. You don't sound like someone who thinks what you're doing is okay.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I bet they all do it. I really do, I think. And the other thing is like somebody brought up the point that he didn't have to go into the press box. He could have just bought a ticket, not worn anything that said Patriots on it, and took a cell phone and videoed the sidelines.
Well, you're not going to get that great of cell phone video from that high up. I don't know. I just, again, and if this were an isolated incident, it'd be one thing. But year after year, it's always something with New England where they're pushing the envelope a little bit. I don't even know. Where does that phrase come from? Because, I mean, is there anything wrong with pushing an envelope?
I think it's like you're bribing somebody.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. I think
I'm dumb.
It's like bribe money.
Okay.
You're pushing it across the table, and you're going, hey, look at that envelope. What do you see there?
I've never bribed anyone.
Oh, that's where
that's your
first. That's your first mistake.
I need to get some envelopes. I don't even have any envelopes to bribe people
Well, first you bribe the envelope company to get some envelopes.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guarantee someone listening also did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. How far?
I will say this,
Say it.
And I'll go on record of this. I pushed an envelope towards Walt Anderson this past weekend. I was like, hey, how about you give the ball to the Rams 2 times?
They tried. That was one of the goofy. I'm glad they fixed that. That would have been one of the.
See, I'm not. See, I've been on the record of this. Dak Prescott has cheated with the opening coin toss for years.
Yeah?
Years.
Wow. This is like a TMZ podcast.
Yeah.
Now.
He's half the time he says coin toss, which that's illegal.
That's inaccurate as well.
You can't say that. Mm-hmm. And the guy who loves kicking the ball. This guy can't get enough of kicking the ball. He wants to do it both times in each half. He thinks his team's that good. That's how much he was rubbing it in the Rams' face. He's like, we don't ever want the ball. We're going to beat you without ever having the offense on the field.
And they did. I wonder if that worked in their favor, where if, like, afterward they're like, all right, they're going to try to screw us. Let's go out there, boys, and get it done. And then they did.
They did. It's true.
They certainly did. All right, I started a new segment just today.
Oh, I love it.
It's called 4 Downs with Danny Stratton.
Oh, boy.
I've never done this, so we got some rapid-fire action.
Okay, give it to me.
All right.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, we have the fireplace on Netflix going, not to brag or anything. But, all right. First down, if you could make dinner for Andy Reid, what would you cook? Turducken. Second down, you can open hand slap any player in NFL history. Who is it and why?
Oh, man. Oh, that's tough.
Who's the first one to come to mind?
Todd Pinkston.
Why Todd Pinkston?
That guy dropped so many passes.
All right.
In the first few years of Donovan McNabb's career, he looked like way worse than he actually was because of Todd Pinkston.
Todd Pinkston, you've been warned. Third down, favorite stadium food?
Oh, that's tough. Can it be all sports?
Yeah, sure.
Yankee Stadium has some really good stuff.
Anything in particular pop out to you?
They have good ice cream. They have good. I've
never had bad ice cream though.
They serve it in a little miniature Yankee hat.
Everyone does that.
But it's beautiful.
You can get that at all 30 ball parks.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else they have. They have like Bear Burger. They have all sorts of like local chains and stuff in there too, which is cool.
Yeah, I went to out in Colorado. They have like all kind of wild game out there. I went to the Rocky Stadium.
That's awesome.
I almost got in a fight with a scalper.
Oh man.
Yeah, and they've got I had like an elk dog out there.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
You got to be careful with the L dogs out there. When you swallow them, they go down your windpipe a little faster because of the thin air.
Oh, good point about the thin air. Fourth down. As a child, went on Santa's lap. Did you boo him?
Oh. I threw batteries in his face, and I said, "Sign J.D. Drew, you asshole."
Why are Eagles fans so mean?
Oh, we just love it. There was one. I think it's the NFC Championship, Eagles Buccaneers. It's in Philly.
2003.
Yes, I believe so. And they had
actually 2002. I'm wrong.
They had Ja Rule do the halftime show, and they booed the shit out of this man.
They knew Fire Festival was coming. They're like, "We're gonna get you for the future."
I think that's the downfall of Ja Rule started there with the NFC
very
Championship.
well could have.
Yeah.
How crazy is it that he's still relevant though?
That is pretty wild.
Everyone still knows who he is.
Yeah, he's not as Cisco should be more relevant. I think.
Yeah, thong song.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, bonus down, fifth down, we like to call it. Worst sports memory.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Man, there was some real heartbreakers. The year Vic looked really good for the Eagles, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Cardinals. I really thought that team was so much better than they ended up being. That was the year that I think Kelly was the coach. Yeah, Kelly was the coach, and they just had an unbelievable offense. They had McCoy. They had all these really good players, and the defense looked great. And that team was capable of making a deep run. And that would have been the first year that Vic actually he never had that run even in Atlanta of a deep playoff run. And I really liked that team a lot and took it hard when they lost to the Cardinals.
I'm sorry to bring that up.
Yeah.
I can hear sadness in your voice.
Still not over it.
I guess I didn't really think of how things are going to go.
What about you? What was the toughest loss that you've ever experienced?
For me, it would hands down be the 2015 wild card loss to the Steelers.
Sure.
Where the back-to-back personal foul penalties led to a field goal. That's the only time in my life I can think of. You know how when you get really mad, you have that feeling inside your body? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just feel like you're going to explode.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning still feeling that way.
That's crazy.
A physical anger. Not woke up and it's man. Woke up and before I could realize my own existence, I was mad. I slept the whole night mad.
I would argue even more, especially in retrospect, one that changes the outcome of the franchise entirely is the Steelers-Bengals game where Palmer tears his
2005,
ACL. Kimo von Oelhoffen falls into his knee.
Here was the thing about that was at that point, that was the first time in my life I had seen the Bengals in the playoffs.
Sure.
And at that point, I was still optimistic. Okay, well, guess what? That sucks, but they just went 11-5, first winning record in my lifetime.
Sure.
Things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I was still young enough and naive enough to think, they're good. And then they went 8-8, I think, 2 years in a row.
I think they used some of the Heisman bust to repair his knee, and I think that's why he never looked the same.
They could have. There were some issues there. I don't know, man. That was a bad one. You remember at the time there was talk that Carson Palmer might not play again. It was that bad of a tear.
Yeah.
And he still didn't look the same again for 2 years.
No.
Then he had the elbow injury. And
I don't think he ever was. Before that, there wasn't a whole lot of data. But he was trending to be a top 5 quarterback.
Oh, for sure. He finished, I think, third in MVP voting that year.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he looked, when you watched him during that 2005 season, he looked the way at the time kind of McNabb and Manning did, where they were dropping back and you could just watch them pick apart the defense. And, I mean, Carson Palmer, there was a point where if it was third and 7 or 8 plus, you thought they were going to get it. You're this is his sweet spot. This is where he's at his best. And he would hit Ocho or he would hit TJ Hushmanzada. Yeah. More often than not, they would pick up those third and longs.
Yeah. There's a thing that nobody really talks about with the NFL, which is if you have a truly elite quarterback, a top 2 or 3 guy, there's a thing where the rest of the team plays worse. And I think it's similar to basketball where the rest of the team just looks at the guy and goes, kind of is watching like a fan.
Yeah.
Where it's we're watching how great this guy is rather than trying to play to his level. And I think the Packers for years with Rodgers were a team like this. And I think the Chiefs are a little bit like that, especially on defense. because
Yeah, I can see that.
I think the Chiefs defense is a lot better than it actually plays, and I think a lot of that is because they expect like Mahomes to bail them out and just do superhuman stuff.
Well, and you look at things like the 2008 Patriots when Brady went down, they still went 10-6, played really well. This year with the Saints, when Breeze went down, I mean, the rest of the team, obviously Teddy Bridgewater played well, but the rest of the team as a whole really stepped up. Yeah, there's a lot of examples out there of that. And, you see, I mean, even Carolina this year, when Cam went out, obviously they suck now. It looks like Will Greer's going to start, and they fired Ron Rivera. But it's like out of the gate, they're like, all right, we got this. We're going to be all right without Cam. And you can only do it for so long.
Mahomes did a thing earlier this year that I've never seen another quarterback do, which was amazing. And it wasn't even like a highlight on SportsCenter. He scrambled out of the pocket to his right.
Hold you're going down a little. Sorry.
He scrambled out of the pocket to his right, and there was nobody around him, and he had 10 yards in front of him for the first down, and nobody was open. And before he took off, he looked around on the ground around him to see if there was a flag, to see if it was worth running for. Because if he saw the flag, he was just gonna chuck it. Right. And if there was no flag, then he was going to take off. And he looked around first, and then there was no flag, and then he took off. I've never seen another quarterback do that.
Yeah, they always talk about like when the game slows down for guys.
Yeah, it's definitely like ultra slow.
He's done it already, and people will still forget as good as he is. He's got 30 starts under his belt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think he was 15-1 in his first 16 starts or something crazy.
Yeah, very good. You want to hear? All right, we'll get out of here. You want to hear something hilarious?
I would love to.
Over the weekend, my girlfriend planned for us to go to brunch on Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, boy.
Guess where I didn't go on Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon?
I had a very similar thing where my girlfriend she asked me to visit her parents at, I think, like 1:30, and I'm no.
Yeah, so I had a fever on Sunday morning, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Something came up on me. I think I got that bug you had.
The old bug. The bug will get you every time.
Yeah, the couch bug.
If anyone wants to stalk you, see what you look like.
You can follow me on Instagram at Danny_Stratton. All the stuff is there. You can find me. It's the future. You can Google.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah.
You're available there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming in. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll do it again sometime.
Hell yeah.
Now that I've got the mic set up, it's a lot more fun having people on than it is sitting by myself like a loser.
Sure. As Bill Burr once said.
Well, he is he's the best philosopher of our time, maybe.
Sure.
Very possibly.
See, I go Aristotle, but I'm a lot older than you.
Well, that's another thing. Aristotle, Burr, Socrates, all those guys.
Sure.
Lump them in. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Rate and subscribe. Tell a friend. And we will see you next week for the Christmas edition. It's a good old football podcast. See ya. Bye.